Welcome to Beauty Business Matters. I'm Susan Routledge, your host, and today we have a really special episode. We have Pete Scott coming in from Chiang Mai, who has the Sales Spotlight Academy. Pete, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Susan. It's so nice to be here. I know that we've known each other for about 10 years. I still think I remember the first time we met at Pro Beauty, probably.
Yeah.
And I think that was 2015.
Yeah, I was following you. I can remember looking through the door because I was speaking after you, and I can remember looking through the door and you had everyone so engaged, and I was thinking, oh my God, I've got to go and follow this now. But I mean, because you always have been such an engaging speaker. But I mean, what you've done for our industry as well, as far as taking therapists and salon owners from just doing treatments to charging thousands for what they do, has been transformational for them, transformational for the clients, but also, I mean, just something that wasn't done in our industry, but now it just shows what can be done, doesn't it, really? So, Pete, do you want to talk through a little bit about how this all works?
Yeah, absolutely. So it's probably best to start with more of the now and how things work today.
Yeah.
So the long and short of it is exactly what you've just said. It's helping therapists to be able to offer real change and transformation to their client. And a really good way to simplify this is to say, if a client walked into your business tomorrow and they said, hey, I love what you do. I would love to work with you, on a I call it a deeper level, but obviously the client wouldn't say that. But I'd love to work with you more long term. Here's £10,000. What would you do? And every single therapist, every single salon owner that I've asked, not one has said, I wouldn't take the money. Every single one replies with the same answer. I would figure it out. And that means that there's infinitely more potential in almost, and I don't want to say every therapist, but certainly a large percentage of the industry. But unfortunately, as we all know, it's an industry that's been hugely commoditized over the years. The training in college doesn't focus on sales, certainly doesn't go into the deeper psychology of buyer behavior, economics, how people buy, all of this stuff that is so key. And the consultation is paramount. We'll talk about that, I'm sure, today. So my role within the Sales Spotlight Academy as well, my clients, is to help them to make that shift, which might become their entire business. So they're only offering transformations for £3,000, £5,000, even £15,000. I've got clients who are charging that amount and have done for years, and they've gone from £100 a treatment and packages, which might be a couple of grand, but it's still a package, to becoming their client's most trusted advisor. And it's come with challenges because, as you've mentioned, it's an industry where it wasn't the norm. So when you walk in and say, hey, by the way, have you ever thought that you could charge £5,000? That comes with a lot of kickback as well and a lot of resistance. And so it's just been a matter of being patient with the industry. I haven't solely focused on the beauty industry. As you know, I've worked with banks, I've worked with 20 plus, 30 plus other industries over the years as well, but it always comes back to this industry because probably my background in the industry from 2000 to 2010. Not that I was a beauty therapist, but I was a spa manager. So yeah, that's the background.
Yeah, well, let's go into a little bit of your background and how this has all come about. Because obviously, originally, it was the cruise ships, wasn't it, that you were on?
Personal trainer, 21 years old. I remember I bought a apartment or a flat for £48,500. And then I got a brand new Rover 25. And I'd had the car about 3 days, and I remembered that I'd forgotten to lock the car. And I went to the window, my bathroom window, which was the closest to the car park. And this is a true story, by the way. This is 100% happened, 25 years ago, whenever it was, 23 years ago. And I locked the car, and in that moment, I was like, is this my life forever? I've got my apartment, I've got my car, and I'm working at all these different gyms. I was freelance personal training, And then the next day I bumped into a friend and she said, why don't you go and work on the cruise ships? You'd be brilliant for that because, you've got the personality, you're
Yeah.
young. She was already 40 with kids and a husband. So she said, I can't do it. But if I was you, I would do it because I was, like most 21-year-olds, completely lost. And before I knew it, I was going down to London in my dad's suit and being interviewed and then being told, yeah, you're leaving in 3 weeks. And then went through the training, got flown to the US, almost got kicked out of the US because they didn't believe me. And then fortunately they made that one phone call and they said, okay, welcome to America.
What
And
do you
that was
mean they
it.
didn't believe you?
They just didn't believe the paperwork that I had. I had a legit visa. And I was pulled into a room for about 5 hours and put through a real interrogation. And I was so young and clueless. I'm just like, just joining the cruise ship. They said, so you don't work for the cruise line, you work for this company that runs the spas on the cruise. And they got so confused. But that's how it all began. And then I've got the typical story that I couldn't sell anything. I mean, my target, I forget, was whatever, $5,000 for the week, and I think I did $6 my first week, and maybe $100 the next week, and I was probably worst in the company for a lot of that contract. But over time and having a new manager come on board who had a lot of time for me, and this was actually where it truly shifted, was that he had been successful as a personal trainer, but it wasn't just that. He wanted to help and he wanted to coach me. He didn't just want to instruct me that I needed to make money. And he said, look, you've got the potential, but we've got to go over how you sit down with the client. And he just taught me the basics. And that was it. After that, I started to perform better and reached a point where I switched companies, actually switched to a UK company called Harding Brothers at the time. And before I went on board, I said, I will be the number one person, I'll be the number one sales in the company. And that happened. And then within 3 months or 2 months on board, head office said, we need you to be head of fitness. And I ended up doing all the sales training started with personal trainers, then all the beauty therapists, then all the nail technicians, the hair, and wrote the whole program for their sales training. And then was going ship to ship thinking, this is amazing. And I then thought I can go and do this for myself. Failed at that massively immediately, and then went back on ships with the other company. That's how it all began.
And then ironically, last year, you were back on the cruise ships again, teaching you as well on a whole different level.
Yeah, and anybody's listening to this that's worked on ships, they'll know that you'll leave ships, but ships never leave you. And for more than a decade, I'd never been back on a ship since I left ships. I think it was 13 years in total. And every dream that I had, I'm not kidding, every dream that I've had for 13 years, but it didn't matter what the dream was, it always took place on a ship. So I always had this unfinished business with the ships, and I felt that I could help the next generation. It's one of those things you feel you can help the next generation who have your pains, your struggles, they're missing home, they're away from family. And it was immense. I went to 21 ships in 4 months. I was averaging 3 or 4 days on each ship. I trained 1,000 team members across 21 ships and 21 managers. And it becomes a personal mission because a lot of them have kids at home, and they're trying to make money to enter home, and they'll sit with you and they'll say, I'm going to do 5 years. I'm like, why 5 years? Because I can make enough money to buy a home. And I'm thinking, how many kids? I've got two 2-year-olds. And I'm like, oh my goodness. So for me, it was like, I've got to help them as much as possible because if they sell more, they can treble their income.
Yeah.
And then go from 5 years to 2 years. So yeah, I don't think if it wasn't for that personal connection to the ships and knowing what they were going through, I wouldn't have been able to last the 21 ships, the airports, the planes, the trains. I mean, I was getting missing flights and then missing hotels, having no sleep, and then flying to another country, different time zone, and then I'm straight on board another ship. So I would have been like, I'm done. I'll go back to my easy life in Chiang Mai things.
Yeah.
But it was great. It was great. But yeah, it's funny how things go full circle, and no more dreams on ships ever since.
That's it. You dreamed out now. So obviously on the cruise ships, it's very much a transient kind of clientele, isn't it? You just you see someone for a few days, then that's it kind of thing. from when you've done training on cruise ships, opposed to sort of other sales, and in particular in our industry, in teaching people in the beauty industry, how have you found it? Do you find that someone finds it easier to sell just to someone who they're not going to see again, or someone who they're going to have a long-term relationship with? Obviously, because you've trained so many on both sides, it's always something I've been a little bit interested in on that.
There is, there's no easier necessarily. They're just slightly different. The principles remain the same. Number one, can I genuinely help this person? And what I mean by that is that when the client comes into the room and you sit down with them and you start to ask them great questions, because great questions lead to great answers. And when you allow that client to open up a little bit and you ask, are you here simply to relax, or do you want better skin? Then that bigger conversation starts to happen. And the rules or the principles become the same. So it's a matter of, you might only be here on a ship for 7 days, but let's work together over these 7 days. Or I work with a few clients per week and I work with them to truly transform their skin while they're on board, and I give them everything they need for when they're at home. So I still look at the transformation being over, say, 6 months, for example. It's just the actual work with the hands-on work with the client is only during that time while they're on board. Of course, in a land-based environment, it's a matter of being your client's most trusted advisor for skin, for wellness, whatever it is that your expertise is, and you work with them for 3, 6, 9, 12 months and beyond. And so the way that I teach is different. I teach not to sell a number of treatments, not packages, because then that makes you comparable. So say you're charging £3,000 for a package of 10, the client will calculate that in their mind and say that's £300 a treatment, they're doing it cheaper down the road. So there are some kind of there's some polarizing beliefs, but once you start doing the deeper work, and there's a lot of psychology behind this, there's a lot of strategy behind it, but it makes perfect sense once you're in the work, and because all that matters fundamentally, do we want to help our clients short term, or do we want to help them long term? And how big of a conversation am I willing to have with the client? The bigger the conversation you're willing to have, the more likely that they're going to want to work with you. But this is the funny thing, Susan, and you know this, clients want to buy. They want you to be their trusted advisor. They love the idea of saying, my skin advisor, my skin, but whatever you call it, because we love, it's called signals of, so for example, Starbucks is a signal of wealth. And without realizing, unconsciously, especially in Asia where I live, Southeast Asia, Starbucks is way overpriced here, right? But they can still command a Western fee. You know why? Because over here, when somebody goes into a Starbucks and they walk out with that Starbucks cup, it's like putting on a Rolex. It's a signal that I am okay, I am wealthy, I am safe. Yeah. And that's why we say my car, my Rolex, whatever it is, but my personal trainer, my skin advisor. And if you're going to be my something, you can charge a lot of money, and you should. You're literally charging, not for the machines you've got, you're charging because you're giving access to your mind and being, in essence, their skin consultant. Yeah.
The thing is as well, because someone always puts blocks in the way themselves. And I've seen people work with you and seeing the blocks they're putting in place. And obviously I teach people to like multi-layer what they're doing, and it obviously then makes them totally price irrelevant to anybody else what they're doing. But like to start with, everyone's always like, my clients would never go for that. And the thing is, it's like it's automatically you're discriminating your client, really. You're not giving them that option. And 9 times out of 10, straight away, they're like, yeah, go for it. But what you teach as well, there's always, I know you always teach to start it and get that price out the way straight away. So if someone doesn't go for that straight away, anything else you're going to talk about is a bargain, really, isn't it? Kind of thing. So I know I was talking to one of our members in Beauty Directors Club the other day, and she'd been talking to a client about something. It was going to be over £3,000, and then the client had said, "Well, I'm not quite ready." And so she said, "Well, we could start doing this." And then the client was, "Yeah, okay." And if she just started on that price of like something like £1,200, the client would have been wavering. But because she'd started high, it was like easy. And then that client's definitely going to go higher anyway.
Love that example. I can share another actually that I was consulting for one of my clients a couple of years ago, just before I moved to Thailand. And she said, "Pete, I really want to sell at £8,000. She was already selling at £5,000 per client, and she could sell this 2, 3 times a week. She said, I do this all the time, right? And that's great. That's her entire business, to sell these transformations, to be a trusted skin expert to her client. And she said, but where the real profit's going to come in is where I charge 8,000. And by the way, if you're listening now going, these numbers, like, this is a lot of
Yes.
numbers being around. Everybody believes £1,000 is a lot of money until they sell at £1,000. Everybody believes that 3,000 is a lot of money until they sell at 3,000, the same for 5,000, so on and so forth. And what I want to, before I continue with the example, I want to be clear that this is not about selling from like a luxury that you need champagne and that you need to roll out the red carpet. Actually, it's about bringing the power all the way back to you, trusting yourself, and realizing that you can only sell from who you are on the deepest level. And that's what matters. And that's the bit about the work that I do that I love the most. Because like you say, Susan, with your client, say when she first heard about it, she said, my clients. So she was actually she was putting her limiting beliefs on her clients. So back to this client that I consulted for, I said to her, well, why don't you, I said, could you offer something at £12,000? She said, yeah, of course I can. So I said, well, why don't you, instead of saying I charge between 3,000 and 8,000, why don't you say I charge between 3,000 and 12,000? So long as genuinely, because you can't do anything as a tactic or to manipulate, because it will always backfire, because unconsciously you'll feel icky. And also the client will pick that up. So genuinely, she could offer a £12,000 solution. So the next day, she had the first client come in, and she said, I charge between 3K to 12K. And guess what? The client paid in full for her £8,000 solution. Great. Yeah. It's understanding the psychology. Yeah. And also, we've got to be calm within that as well. Because that's the biggest thing, is that if we see, oh my goodness, how am I going to sell this? Take a step back. It's all good. But that's the deeper psychology that we do on ourselves as well.
Yeah, I don't even think it's selling though, really, is it? I mean, it's just important. You know, there are so many experts in our industry and people who should be really, really charging their worth who don't. And I think that stems from because they'll buy a piece of equipment. That piece of equipment, I'll say that like, right, the recommended price for this piece of equipment is £100 per treatment or whatever. Now, the thing is that like, then that puts them, it doesn't matter whether they've got 25 years experience or they've just walked out of college. If they've just walked out of college, they're still charging the same. That 25 years of experience, it's just wasted. And it's just, it's mad. And, you know, so we have like a really disjointed industry, really, don't we? Where you know, experience gets put aside to a piece of equipment that is like a process, and it's madness when you think about it.
Yeah, I had a call with one of my clients yesterday, and she was super stressed and overthinking this whole process. And I said to her, well, why don't we do this? Let's bring the power all the way back to you. Instead of seeing it as a machine or even a solution that you need to create, what about if every client you sat down with, you see yourself almost like a GP, like a doctor? Every solution is bespoke. However, your focus is skin transformation. And she went, I can do that. And I said, well, that's what we do here, right? That's the work that we do, is going much deeper and sitting with somebody, and your overall solution and what you market can be skin transformations or whatever it is, but each client can have a bespoke solution, and that's how it should be. We shouldn't be trying to create something that's a package, and this is the thing that I experienced the most, Susan, is that when somebody starts working with me, obviously they want to sell very quickly. They want their first £3,000 sale. And if they don't get it in 1 week, I normally get a message from them, it's not working. I'm like, you just started working with me a week ago. So take your time. It's all good. We've got some days ahead of us. So, but the point is that um, everybody does this from their survival mind, their reactive mind. If I'm going to be selling for this amount, how do I justify the value? And that's where we go wrong. Because you're right, Susan, as an industry, and also it's just the way we're raised, is that we are told from a young age, the harder you work, the more money you make. And my dad, who gives very, very good advice, but he would always give advice, which wasn't so good. Things like, your job is to keep your boss happy and your customer happy. And so we become incessant people pleasers. And whatever we do, and you know me well, Susan, so you know I've had this insecurity that I've had to work on a lot. Whatever we do, we don't feel good enough. And that's where we get stuck. And actually, what we need to do is bring all that power back to ourselves, trust ourselves on a much deeper level, trust something bigger than ourselves, whatever that might be, whatever your belief is, but trust that actually when a client comes to us, we're not there to sell a machine, we're not there to sell a bunch of products, we're there to help the client.
Yeah.
And that's the thing, is that we can ask this question now. If there's two choices, choice number one is that the client pays £100, but you don't really help them. You just help them for an hour. Or choice number two, they pay, let's put a big number out there, £10,000. But you know that you are going to work with that client for the next 12 months. Which one would you be excited about? Which one would you get out of bed? It might be scary, but which one would you get out of bed and go, I'm really buzzing about this?
Yeah.
And that's the work that I do. It's very much just becoming comfortable mentally with your nervous system, with you, making sure that everything in your business aligns with that, because if we're contradicting it, that's no good as well. But yeah, it comes back to what we've been saying throughout this conversation. It's deep work. And if only it happened overnight.
Yeah, no, from my team, when they've done training, when we've done things together and they've done some training with you, they always like, I'll hear them in the staff room, like saying, like people would say, every client's a yes until they're a no. And I think that's just something great to have in your head. The thing is that because like if you don't, more often than not, clients don't know all of the options that they've got. And so it's like limiting what you can do straight away by only giving them the smaller options kind of thing. Where, to say like clients, you can't prejudge what someone wants to do. If someone wants something all clients come because they want great skin, I always like say, like clients don't want a facial. They want, like you said, a solution. They want to have great skin. Yet more and more often they'll get sold a facial, and it's madness. And I always, one of my favorite things to say is, like if someone has 12 facials a year, it's only half a day that they're getting treat. They've still got 364 and a half days where they're just left to their own devices normally and not even sold any products to go alongside or anything. So it's like, I just love how you do it. But you always like say it is down to the consultation, and of course it very much is.
The foundation of all the work is the consultation. Your consultation has to look at and feel like the amount that you want to charge. And for most, they don't know what questions to ask. They don't know when to ask the right questions. They don't understand the psychology of why they're asking a certain question. And also, if you want great answers from your client, it all starts with the level of question that we're asking. Questions like, what are you here for? What can I help you with? Are not great questions. Questions that are well structured and allow the client to think on a deeper level will help the client to have breakthroughs, aha moments during the consultation. And most importantly, the client will then see that, wow, there is this bigger option. It's not a matter of just saying, I can sell you this for thousands. It's a matter of opening the door And what I find, and this actually came up big on the cruise ships last year, but also with all the client work that I do, is that we generally don't ask questions. Okay, or let me frame this in a better way. We must ask questions that the client isn't asking themselves already. Okay, because if we're just asking the same questions that the client's already asking themselves, then they've got no reason to pay us thousands. But when we ask really well thought out questions and we're listening on a deep level to those answers that come through, you're going to have clients in tears, and from there, that client is going to open up and realize that, yeah, I don't want to go another 10 years not resolving this. I trust you, and yeah, I'm good to go. Like, how do you sign me up? So yeah, it's all about the consultation. That's a big topic in itself.
Yeah, but most clients don't get asked those questions either. And the thing is, they don't get to discuss it with anybody else either. So it's like, once you are asking great questions, then you've automatically got that trust. And you've already got your client in the palm of your hand, really, haven't you?
And we'll go deeper with this. So the questions are huge, but what's the intention behind those questions? So, for example, two therapists can ask the exact same questions, frame them in the same way, but one therapist is stressed and she's thinking, oh goodness, I've got to hit my target, otherwise I'm in trouble with the boss. And her entire tonality is going to come across in a different way.
Yeah,
Whereas
and
the other
body
therapist,
language,
body language,
everything.
microfacial expressions, all of those things. And the other therapist is sincerely wanting to help the client. And in that time she's sat in the treatment room with the client, she's so present with the client that she forgets herself and focuses entirely on them. And this is where it goes even deeper. She's also not attached to the yes or the no. And that's when everything opens up. But yeah, it takes a lot of practice with the consultation to get to that point. And that's why all of my clients, my community, what we do that's not really seen in the industry. And I find it interesting because I've worked with many sales training companies over the years, and almost none do tangible, practical training. Whereas if I give the example of the cruise ships last year, I was asked before I went on board, they said, we're going to come and train our 1,000 staff. What do you intend to do? And I said, well, it's not what I'm going to do. 95% will be the staff practicing and I will be observing. So I'll teach them everything they need to know on the first day to get the basics. And then I'll be on board another 3 days and it'll be exercise through these different role play scenarios. I know we don't like that word, but practice makes permanent. You want to get good at tennis, you practice. You want to get good at a new language, you practice. The reason why I didn't speak any Thai for the first 18 months here is because I never practiced. Just being here in Thailand is not enough to speak the language. You have to practice every single day.
Yeah. And I think this is the thing, because like in our industry, someone will put a block up straight away. They'll be like, as I say, like we've said, clients won't go for that. But then the other thing is that they always like sort of just think that, the clients are automatically just going to say no, or they're just going to and one of the biggest things is when someone has had a client for quite a few years and then they're like, well, we can't all of a sudden start doing a different consultation. We can't start talking a different way. They're going to think we weren't doing it right in the first place. And I hear that lots, and I'm sure you do.
Every day. Yeah. So number one is that you can continue to work with those clients, but you just choose a special day for them. You can have a day where you say, right, every other Thursday, I'm going to have, Sally, who's been coming here for 30 years, she can pop along and do that. However, you must start, if you're going to step into this, and it is a shift into a different way of running your business, you must choose a day, at least one day where you say, on this day is exclusively for offering transformation, sitting down with clients that are going to potentially invest thousands with me. And then that becomes 2 days, and then that becomes 3 days, and it becomes, the entire business before we know it. However, the issue comes in is where we try and mix the two on the same day. You can't be doing nails for £20 at 11 a.m. and then sitting down with a client who's invested 5 grand at midday and
Yeah.
feeling within your integrity. Now, one thing that I've had a lot of pushback over the years, not so much now, but certainly you've seen it, Susan, and that pushback has been, oh, Pete Scott just teaches people to sell for thousands. Um, Actually, for me, what I'm passionate about is how do I help this person? How do I help this client? And I know that if they're investing properly, I get to work with them for months. I get to really be excited about. I just took on a client right now, an hour ago, okay, for my business. So a consulting client.
Yeah.
And she said to me, Pete, I know you charge a lot, word for word, she said, I know you charge a lot, but what's the price? And I said, this is the price. And she said, oh, that's more than I thought. I thought it was going to be this. And my reply to her was that I charge enough. So I am so excited to work with you and you're excited to get started. But if I charge the amount you just mentioned, I'm sorry, I'm just not excited. But I've been doing this a long time. I teach it. And she just laughed and she said, okay, I'm in. It's all good. But yeah, it's so lovely to observe. One of my most successful clients, she's a hairstylist. She charges £6,000 a client, only does grey blending. You can look her up on TikTok, Rosie Bayliss. She's got like 500,000 followers across social media now. And it started 3 years ago. And in her first month, she just went for it and did 20 grand, 26 grand or something. Unbelievable. But guess what? She did it and almost destroyed like her mental health in the process because she wasn't ready, right? And I was having calls with going, Rosie, what have you done? Can't just do this overnight. But Susan, going back to your question about what do I do if I've got all these amazing clients, I don't want to let them go. There's a really good exercise that you can run through in your mind. I want you to imagine that you sit down with every single client and you tell every single client, by the way, I'm going to be taking the business in a different direction where I can support a few clients to create a really big transformation with their skin, their hair, or nails. And it's not going to be for everyone. However, I thought I'd let you know because you're one of my long-term clients and I want you to be the first to have the opportunity to do this. But then in your mind, imagine having that conversation with every client, and then every client going, how dare you? And storming out. And now you're sat there with no clients. How do you feel? Usually the answer that I get straight away is, well, Pete, I've just destroyed my business. But then what happens after a few moments pass and you sit with that and you breathe and you might meditate on it, then the real you starts to come through, your real potential. And you go, actually, now I'm free to do what I want to do. Now, the good news is I've been doing this for 15 plus years. I've never known anybody to lose every client as a result of doing this. But please don't quote me on that because there's a lot of work we do to ensure that doesn't happen. But I will guarantee this. There is always 5 to 10% of your current clients that if they were given the opportunity, the invite to work with you and to really create a bigger change, they would take you up immediately. Most salons that I work with have got another 20 to 30,000 pounds in revenue just in the next 7 days by having 5 or 6 clients, at most 10 clients, take up this offer, and then you can repeat that process again and again. But yeah, again, it's strategy, psychology. Don't do it before you're ready. Don't do what Rosie did. Please don't do what Rosie did.
I know. The thing is, I think as well, like you say, it can be a mix kind of thing, where like you have like certain days where that is what you do. Because the other option is that, and this is, I work with a lot of salon and clinic owners who need to make that change when I start working with them, because they start to get resentful of the fact that like they're not making the money they should be because they are sticking to the industry norm kind of thing rather than their experience and charging for their worth. And the thing is that obviously if you're very good at what you do, you are going to get busier and busier and busier. kind of because you're so good at what you do, but because we're charging the same as someone who's got a tenth of your experience and knowledge, and so that what you do takes it to that next, well, a far end level where someone can really then like sort of work between the two, but like bringing up like stuff, because automatically when you start working at that level, clients expect everything else to be at a higher level as well. So the thing is that when you're like saying you can't be doing £20 nails and things, clients wouldn't expect there to be £20 nails when you're working at that level. And it's just all in a client's head, psychology. And I know, in my business, we charge a lot more than the other salons around, but our clients expect a certain level for that. And our girls are trained so highly. And I'm not saying other salons aren't, but, the thing is that how you show yourself is how you're a magnet to attract the right clients as well.
People buy. Okay, so this is what I've been saying to a lot of my clients recently. The less you charge, the more clients will pay for the product.
Exactly.
In other words, they're going to be more of a headache because the product isn't quite right, the service isn't quite right, this treatment didn't go the way that I want. The more they pay for you. But what we have to realize is that it's not, when somebody's paying thousands, they're not paying for function. You can't have a great example. A Rolex doesn't tell the time better than your iPhone. So why bother with a Rolex? But people do. It's a $1 billion company. A MacBook Pro is not the best laptop, but here I am with my MacBook Air, my iPhone, you've got yours, right? So it becomes about you pay for, we're paying for the brand, and it's the brand of you. And this means that, again, it is always the art and the science. The science is the strategy, the steps, the nuances that are required, but then the art is the psychology. Susan, there's a spiritual level to this as well. But I want to remind everybody listening, it's okay to outgrow your clients. Like, it's really okay. You don't have to be stuck with the same clients for 20 years because you're probably going to have the same reality for the next 20 years if that's the case. Yeah, and as much as you try and change and you go to these big beauty conferences and you invest another 50 grand in another machine, it's not the machine, it's you. You're the value. Like, the machine is not going to, and I've seen it so many times that when I lived in the UK, I was always in salons and spas consulting, and I'm like, that machine, how much is that? Some of them say 80 grand. What about that one? 30 grand. I'm like, you've got £150,000 of machines. And they're just on payment plans. And I'm not against machines at all. I think use every tool that you can afford to get your hands on, but never forget that clients pay for you. And that's the key. It truly is. But yeah, it does mean that we are okay, that life moves on. You will have clients that upgrade with you. I've got clients in my business that have worked with me for years, and they evolve with me, and that we have this wonderful journey together. And I've had a lot of clients over the years that they get to a point where they say, they're not aligned or whatever. Fine, they just disappear. They get their time. But what we don't want is to get in the trap where we are not evolving, because that's that loss of potential, and that's the greatest loss of all, when we're not living our potential.
Yeah, totally. Can I just ask, because the thing is as well, this is something that I find a lot, that you will have a salon clinic owner who is the owner. And I was like, they always like say to me, I can sell, why can't my team sell? And I'm like, because you're the salon owner, and like people have got more confidence in you straight away. I haven't been in a treatment room for probably 18, 20 years now working, apart from like the odd thing. But I could still walk in and take a product off the shelf and like and say to a client, you need this. And
you can
without but how do you find that then, if you have got a salon owner who clients really, really trust, how do you find that transcends down into teaching this to a team as well?
Love this question. Number one is to be completely 100% behind supporting the team. I lost count of the amount of spas and salons I've been in over the years, but I've also lost count of the amount of times that the owner will say, "There's the team. I've got a meeting." I'm like, "No, where are you going?" And when they do that, I say, "You're running this training. Well, we're paying you to come in. They pay me to go in and train the team." I'm like, "No, no. But when I leave, you're the one that's going to have to continue this." So it's respecting that, first of all, that it is 100% from the team and 100% from the owner. It's what I say to all my clients these days, is that you will get 100% from me. So my expectation from my clients, because they're all business owners, I need 100% from you. And so I have commitments that my clients have to do. So we track all their revenues, everything. And if they don't do it, I'm like, "Hey, what happened to what I need to see your revenues." So it's 100%, 100%, right? Not 50% from the owner, 100% from the staff, or vice versa. Okay, that's got to be a clear expectation. And that means regular, and I'm talking daily practice in the column, diary, whatever it's called. 30 minutes, 10 minutes, stopping, having a structure with your consultation. It all comes from the consultation. If you can help your team to become confident with their consultation, then that's already going to make life easier. But you've got to inspect what you expect. So when you're doing all of this work to help them to master the consultation, then are you following up on that? Are you saying, "Right, okay, so Jeffrey or Lisa, I want you to go through the consultation right now," and respecting that it's a long-term thing. And you will get staff that leave, and that's the game that you play. And you just say, "Well, let's bring in a new one and train them up as well." But yeah, I would also say, and this is my bias coming in, work with somebody who's an expert in this area. Don't expect to wear all of these hats as an owner. It is far cheaper to have somebody work with you and say, "This is the consultation that's proven. This is what you need to do." Obviously, I'm biased because that's the work that I do. But I've tried to be the lone wolf in my life many times. It never works. Now I'm like, "Help me," from all angles. So yeah, that's my advice on it.
It takes the pressure off the owner as well, though. The thing is, because it's like sort of, well, Pete said kind of thing, isn't it? And I say that to my clients, just say that, like, you're going through a process and we're working together. And so, just say asset kind of thing. And it just takes...
Blame me. I tell my clients all the time, blame me. Just blame me.
Yeah, exactly. Because otherwise they'll just be like, "Oh, Lisa's off on a one again," kind of thing, because the salon owner, a salon owner themselves trying to teach sales just doesn't work, and this is the thing. And I know when we've done things before and we've done events where we've had all the therapists in a room and had the salon owners in another room. The thing is, you've got to have buy-in from both sides, like you say, haven't you, really?
100%. Yeah, it's mostly from the owner, because the team are only as good as the leader, right? And there's a really cliche statement that if you've been managing your team for less than 30 days, maybe it's the team. But if you've been managing them for more than 30 days, then it's you, right? So it comes back to how you're leading the team. And yeah, it's the bit of the work that I truly enjoy. I enjoy all of it, but this particularly I enjoy because I like to see the owner step up and the owner be able to they don't even need, they should be the first to be able to deliver that consultation, for example, but they need to be ensuring that they're coaching, leading, managing on a day-to-day basis, because you've got a big responsibility. Somebody's committing 40 hours or 38 hours a week to you and your business. Sure, they get paid for it, but give them the absolute best opportunity to succeed especially when it comes to selling.
Yeah, but it should be as well. It should be when a client comes in, they get the same level of service from whoever they are seeing in that business. There shouldn't be this big disparity between who they're seeing and what level of, whether they get advised on products and told about new treatments, opposed to going to see someone else who just has the client booked in, gets them in, gets them out. And that happens a lot. And it's like, it's just not fair on the client. It's really not fair. It's having everyone trained to the same level. I love the YouTube channel that you've started as well. That is brilliant. I love that you've got you go through the consultation, like get someone to do it, one of your clients to do it, and then you sort of like it. And as soon as you start explaining what should have happened or where it went wrong, it's fascinating, absolutely fascinating.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited about it. It's something that I've been thinking about for a while. And for me, at this stage in my journey, I guess, it's coming back to what's truly important, what's my values. And when I look around, I'm like, I want to put my clients in the spotlight. I want them to be the hero. It's not about Pete Scott, the sales trainer, which we all go through that stage as well. And there was only a few years ago, well, 5 years ago now, that I showed up with a slothy, a pink horse, and
I've still got my slothy.
Yeah, and that was a great time. But it really is, and that was part of the entertainment. But it's one thing that I've just become very sensitive to is that if you're going to create confident, empowered team members, you've got to be able to put them in the spotlight. So that's the reason why I've done a big rebrand of the business recently, which is now the Sales Spotlight Academy. And the entire principle and value of it is that putting our members, our clients, business owners, and all the clients that we work with, putting them in the spotlight, making them practice their consultation. And the community is amazing. They've ran 3 sessions today. I don't know anything about it. And I'm like, wow. And Susan, sorry to sidetrack, but I had it for years where I was always pushing to get people to attend calls and do this. I always had good attendance, but you're always feeling like, oh, I'm doing all, it's all on me. But now it's like the opposite. I wake up and I check our community and they're all supporting one another. It's amazing. It's amazing. And the whole concept is putting them in the spotlight. And that means the Sales Spotlight Show, which is a big part of my YouTube channel. So I've started to upload episodes, and I'm thankful that my clients are willing to be on YouTube, going through a consultation and then getting feedback from me saying, well, you got this bit wrong, right? But it's demonstrating what we can do. And I actually got tired of myself. I know the whole online coaching was a lot of people talking, right? Talking. I got tired of I'm like, I just want to show what we can do. But that means we've got to celebrate the clients, and not in a way that it's another testimonial. Oh, this is so-and-so. They weren't making money. Now they are. It's just all so copy paste. Whereas actually having them on the show and sharing that on YouTube and then having shorter reels, it's a really fun thing. So I'm so happy you enjoyed the episode.
Yeah, I think it's perfect timing as well, because obviously I've seen you evolve from when we first met right the way through all the the different stages to this, and it's great. I absolutely love it. And the thing is, even though the short YouTubes, anyone can go on and learn from there. So the YouTube channel, Pete, what is it called?
It counts my name, so it's Pete Scott. So it's just my name. So you can find my YouTube channel fairly easily, and I do upload other videos, but the actual Sales Spotlight Show, I share, it might be every 3 or 4 videos, will be an episode. It'll be episode 1, 2, 3, and they're all numbered. And then that leads into, of course, the Sales Spotlight Academy, which is, my community and where all my clients around the world are. So it's a perfect flow instead of before, which was, let's do this, let's do that, which we all go through that stage, right?
So if someone needs to get in touch with needs as well, to get in touch with you, is it best just to follow you on social media, or what's the best way?
I think social media is always the best first point of call. So just look up my name your Facebook, Instagram. Of course,
YouTube. Yeah.
YouTube, you can't message me, but you can comment, and or you can email me directly, pete@petescott.com.
Yeah. And what we'll do is we'll put all your details as well in the show notes as well. So anyone who's listening or watching this can just go back and get your details from there as well. But Pete, this has been amazing. I mean, we could chat for hours, and we do. But Yeah, this is, and I think anyone listening will have found this so helpful. So thank you for giving your time up all the way from Chiang Mai. And and no doubt we shall speak again very soon.
Appreciate you, Susan. Thanks so much.